Hey Seahawks fan, you're not going to believe what's starting to come together for this team right now. It's one of those situations where everything just lines up perfectly. And if this actually happens, we might be looking at a seriously exciting turnaround way sooner than people expect. So click the like button, and if you've been a fan for more than 25 years, write in the comments, "Go Seahawks." The Seattle Seahawks may have just found themselves staring at a dream draft scenario, and if what we're seeing here actually plays out, this could quietly become one of the most impactful two-pick stretches this team has had in years. According to Field Yates's latest two-round mock, Seattle walks away with exactly what this roster has been missing. And it starts with a name that Seahawks fans need to get very familiar with: Avon Terrell out of Clemson. At pick 32, Seattle is sitting in a tricky spot. It's not quite premium territory, but it's still valuable enough that you cannot afford to miss. And somehow, in this projection, Terrell falls right into their lap. This is a player who has been projected much earlier in multiple drafts, sometimes even in the teens, which immediately makes this feel like value before you even turn on the tape. But once you actually look at what he brings, it becomes very clear why this fit makes so much sense for Mike Macdonald's defense. Terrell isn't just another corner. He's exactly the type of versatile defensive back this system demands. At 5'11", 186 pounds, he may not be the biggest name physically, but what he lacks in size, he more than makes up for with production and instincts. 5 forced fumbles in 2025, on top of 3 the previous year, shows you something important. This is a defender who actively creates chaos, and that matters for a Seahawks defense that already ranked among the league leaders in takeaways with 25 last season. Now think about the current situation. The Seahawks made a major decision moving on from Rick Woolen, who is now in Philadelphia. That leaves a clear gap in the secondary. You still have Devin Witherspoon and Josh Jobe, but this defense isn't built around just 2 corners. Macdonald wants flexibility. He wants players who can line up outside, slide into the slot, blitz, tackle, and disguise coverages. Terrell fits that mold perfectly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Bringing in Terrell doesn't just add depth, it unlocks other pieces. It allows players like Kobe Bryant or others in that hybrid safety role to move around more freely, even stepping into linebacker-like responsibilities at times. We've already seen how Seattle likes to deploy multiple defensive backs on the field together, and Terrell would slide right into those packages without hesitation. What stands out most is how complete his game is. Quarterbacks struggle to complete passes against him, hovering just above a 50% completion rate. He can tackle, he can blitz, and most importantly, he can take the ball away. Even on a Clemson defense that had its struggles, Terrell consistently delivered. He was the one player who showed up week after week, and that kind of consistency is exactly what Seattle needs right now. But if you think that's where the excitement ends, it doesn't. Because the second piece of this mock might actually be just as impactful, if not more, depending on how the season starts. At pick 64, the Seahawks address another glaring need: the running game. And the name here is Jaden Jadarian Price, a player who might not jump off the stat sheet at first glance, but becomes incredibly intriguing once you understand the context. Price played behind one of the most electric backs in college football, which naturally limited his opportunities. But when he did get touches, the traits were obvious: vision, burst, physicality, and that ability to break away into open space. This is not just a complimentary back. This is someone who can change the pace of a game instantly. And the timing could not be more critical. Zach Charbonnet is expected to miss a significant portion of the season recovering from a torn ACL, which leaves Seattle in a very uncertain position at running back. Right now, the depth chart is filled with question marks, And that opens the door for someone like Price to come in and immediately compete for meaningful snaps. What makes this even more compelling is the offensive philosophy that's expected to take shape. With a system that leans on multiple running backs to keep players fresh and maintain a physical edge throughout the game, Price doesn't just fit, he becomes essential. Even when Charbonnet returns, there's a strong argument that Price would remain a key part of a 1-2 punch in the backfield. And let's not overlook the value here. This is a player ranked 43rd on Yates's board, sliding to 64 simply because teams prioritized other positions. That's the kind of inefficiency good teams capitalize on. Seattle wouldn't be reaching. They'd be capitalizing. So when you step back and look at the full picture, it's hard not to get excited. You're potentially landing a top-tier defensive playmaker at corner and pairing him with a dynamic offensive weapon at running back, all without trading up or sacrificing additional draft capital. That's how you build efficiently. That's how you accelerate a roster turnaround. If this scenario somehow becomes reality, it's not just a good draft. It's a statement. It's the kind of draft that signals a clear direction and gives fans a real reason to believe in what's being built here. Now, I want to hear from you, Seahawks fans. If Seattle walks away with Avon Terrell and Jadarian Price, how are you feeling about this draft class? And do you think this is enough to push the team to the next level? And when you really start connecting all the dots here, this is where things go from great mock draft to something that could genuinely reshape the trajectory of the Seahawks heading into the season. Because what Field Yates is projecting isn't just about filling holes, it's about maximizing value at exactly the right time, and doing it in a way that aligns perfectly with how this coaching staff wants to build. Let's go back to the bigger picture for a second. Seattle only has 4 picks in this draft: a first, second, third, and a 6th rounder after moving assets in the deal for Rashid Shaheed. That means there is almost zero margin for error. You don't have the luxury of missing on early selections or drafting projects that need years to develop. You need immediate contributors. You need players who can step in and impact games right away. And that's exactly what makes this scenario so compelling. Avon Terrell gives you immediate flexibility and long-term stability in a secondary that just lost a major piece. You're not asking him to come in and be the savior on day one, but you are putting him in a position where he can contribute across multiple roles instantly. Whether it's outside coverage, slot responsibilities, or even being part of creative blitz packages, he checks every box that this defense values. And more importantly, he fits the identity. Physical, aggressive, opportunistic. That's Seahawks football on the defensive side. Then you flip to the offensive side, and Jadarian Price brings something that this team simply does not have enough of right now: explosive reliability. Not just speed for the sake of speed, but controlled aggression as a runner. Someone who can hit a gap, break through contact, and then turn a modest gain into a massive play. That's the kind of element that can completely change how defenses approach Seattle. Because think about what happens if Price hits early. Suddenly, defenses can't just focus on the passing game. They can't stack coverage and ignore the run. They have to respect that there's a back who can take it to the house at any moment. That opens everything up. Play action becomes more dangerous. Short yardage situations become more manageable. The entire offense gains balance. And there's another layer to this that shouldn't be overlooked: special teams. Price has the ability to contribute in the return game as well. That's hidden value, but it matters. Field position swings games, especially in tight matchups, and having a player who can flip the field instantly adds yet another dimension to his impact. Now here's where it really starts to feel like a steal. There are legitimate discussions in draft circles about both of these players going significantly earlier. Terrell in the teens, Price potentially in the first round in some projections. And yet, in this scenario, Seattle gets both without moving up, without sacrificing future assets, and without overthinking it. That's the kind of outcome front offices dream about. And it also speaks to something else: discipline, not panicking, not reaching for need over value, letting the board come to you and trusting your evaluations. If John Schneider and this front office can pull something like this off, it shows a level of control and confidence that should excite every Seahawks fan watching this unfold. Because this team is in a very interesting spot right now. There are clear needs, yes. Running back, cornerback, offensive line depth, edge help. But there's also a foundation in place. There are pieces here that, if complemented correctly, can turn Seattle into a very dangerous team much faster than people expect. And that's why a draft like this matters so much. It's not just about adding talent. It's about adding the right talent. You're talking about a corner who thrives in chaos and creates turnovers. You're talking about a running back who brings explosiveness and toughness to a backfield that desperately needs both. You're talking about two players who don't just fill gaps, but elevate the players around them. That's how you go from competitive to genuinely threatening. And if we're being honest, if this exact scenario plays out on draft night, you're going to see a lot of reactions across the league. Analysts are going to start circling Seattle as a team that quietly crushed the draft. Fans are going to feel that surge of confidence. And inside that building, there's going to be a belief that this group just took a major step forward. Because landing one of these players would be exciting. Landing both, that changes the conversation entirely. Now imagine this. Early in the season, Terrell is already rotating in, making plays, forcing turnovers, showing flashes of becoming a cornerstone in the secondary. On the other side, Price is breaking off big runs, contributing in the return game, and giving this offense a spark while the backfield sorts itself out. That's not a long-term projection. That's something that could realistically happen right away if everything clicks. And if it does, this draft won't just be remembered as good value. It'll be remembered as the moment Seattle accelerated its rebuild and positioned itself to compete sooner than expected. So keep a very close eye on these two names. Because if Field Yates ends up being right about this, Seahawks fans are going to look back at this mock and say, this was the blueprint all along. Make sure you're subscribed, drop a like if you're excited about this potential outcome, and click the video that's on your screen right now because all the latest Seahawks updates, analysis, and breaking news, you're only going to find it right here.